I'm going to start showing you how to use MySQL from the command prompt. So the first thing I had to do from Windows to make this similar with the way you would interact with MySQL on a Linux server was to make sure that MySQL was in the path. So right-clicking on Computer, go to System Properties, and go to Advanced System Settings. And what we're looking for is the path settings. So path settings are in environment variables. And in case you're not familiar with it, the path is a list of directories where the computer will search for programs that it's trying to execute, and it's only going to search in those directories. So if you have a program that you're trying to execute and it's not in the path, it won't execute it unless you happen to be, well, not happen, unless you change to the directory where your program is stored. So here's the path variable under environment variables. I'm going to click on that and edit it. And notice that the very last program, or I'm sorry, the very last folder that I have, you can see where I had pip from Python. So the directory that I have, and you separate the directories in the path using a semicolon, and then mine is C: program files, MySQL, MySQL Server 5.7. So you can find this through Explorer, so you can figure out which exactly your directory is. And then finally you need on the end of that bin. And if you put that into your path, then we can execute MySQL from command prompt. All right, so I'm going to boot up the command prompt, and now that's in my path, I can execute MySQL, and not much happens. I can tell that MySQL is executing because it's denying me access, so maybe I need to try something else. So what you want is you want to try MySQL, and you want to tell it what user you are. So I think I'm going to try logging in as cook. Again, I get access denied, but at least I'm getting access denied for cook instead of ODBC, however that might be. So there's one more piece of information we need here, and we need to put a -p at the end of this, and in that case it will ask us for our password, and hey, we're in. Okay, so now that we are in MySQL, what sorts of things can we do? Okay, so I'm going to give you a list of basic commands from MySQL. I want to note from the get-go that almost all of these commands end with a semicolon and are in capitals. All right, so I'm going to select. This is one of our basic commands, and I want to know what is the current time. So we can select now, and it gives us the current date. You can also find the version. So we are using 5.7.8, which we, I guess, knew from the path before. So that is the current version of MySQL that we're using. And if I can ask who the current user is. So it looks like I am a cook at localhost. When you select user, notice that it has @. So this is always going to happen. When you log into MySQL, you can log in from another computer. So this will have your username and spell out where you are logging in from. And if you're logging in from the computer that MySQL is on, then it's going to say localhost. So that's a fairly standard name to use. Okay, well, what other kinds of things can we do? Let's see, what kind of databases do I have available to me? So I can execute a show databases command. Notice that doesn't have parentheses on it. And I don't have access to very much here. These are built-in databases. So as the user cook, I actually have not created any databases at all. In fact, I want to notice something. I have MySQL Workbench sitting here. And I have all these databases I've made, for example, for lesson videos, so Connect, Normalization, Jim Bob's Garage, etc. But notice up here that in MySQL Workbench, I'm actually the root user. I don't know if you can see that. It's a pretty small font but that does say root. So not seeing much here for the user cook. I think what I'm going to do is log out, executing a quit command, which doesn't need a semicolon in the end, but you can put one. And I'm going to log back in as root. So I'm going to log in as MySQL, user root, and prompt me for the password. And then I'm going to show databases. And notice in here that under show databases, then I have those databases listed from before. So you may have noticed that in my list of databases, Jim Bob's Garage doesn't show up. And the problem is that I never actually made Jim Bob's Garage into a database. It was a schema. I left it that way. For the sake of the video, I didn't actually need to see the database. So let's go fix that. Jim Bob's Garage is now going to be made into a full-fledged database. Congratulations, Jim Bob. All right, so let's go over here, and to make it into a database, I have to forward engineer it and hope for no errors. At some point in time, we'll have to have a video on what happens if you get errors. All right, and let's go ahead and connect to it just to see if that works. Double check things here. And now Jim Bob's Garage is in the list of databases. Notice that the capitalization was irrelevant, but that's okay. And now let's go back here and show databases again. And there we go. So Jim Bob's Garage has now appeared in my list of databases. Oh, okay, that's good. Well, you know what? I actually don't think I want Jim Bob's Garage to be a database. I don't like it. So what to do about that? Okay, so let's see. How are we going to do this? We are going to drop a database. I want to show you a little trick here. So I'm going to drop a database, and I'm going to call it cook. There's no cook database. So we get an error, and if you are not even getting errors, or maybe if you're running this from a script and you want to check for errors, you can do this. I want to drop database if exists cook. Okay, so I didn't drop the database cook because it doesn't exist, but I also didn't get an error. So you can use the if exists modifier, helps prevent errors, might be useful. And now I'm going to drop if exits, if exists, Jim Bob's Garage. Now, a word of warning, this is not Windows, so there's going to be no recovery from this. When we drop the database, it's gone, and it's gone permanently. Be careful when you're dropping databases. Okay, and it's gone. Let's just check. Is it gone? It's gone. Hope that wasn't a homework assignment I needed. All right, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to create videos and add tables and that sort of thing. So these are just some basic commands to start moving around in MySQL. See you next time.